The scent of cashmere and perfume clung to the private dining room at Holston Manor so strongly that I could taste it. Everyone wore the kind of smile you'd expect at a murder trial, tight, gleaming, and painfully focused. Performative. My name was on the dinner menu, on the invites, on the embossed napkins commemorating the 35th birthday of Silas Monroe. But I was seated at the head of the long mahogany table, champagne flute in hand, surrounded by people, and yet, somehow, it didn't feel like my night. To them, those who knew nothing about me, my wife Jasmine looked stunning in ivory silk, her curls catching the light just right. They had put my older brother next to her, closer than I would have liked, and when she laughed, too loud, too practiced, it was Tobias who made her do it. Tobias, smug, sun-kissed, and always drenched in his inherent power. He leaned in every now and then to mutter something, and she'd cover her mouth and giggle, as if it were their first date. Martin, our father, sat across from me. I tried to look casual, sipping bourbon, my eyes scanning the room. Darlene, Jasmine's mother, wore so many diamonds I could almost hear them clinking when she moved. Every socialite on the Monroe board and half of Hangaron's elite were there. And when dessert was cleared and the pianist began playing a quiet, melodic tune, the air glistened with both good and bad intent. Everyone turned toward me. Custom dictated that the birthday boy stand and deliver a pleasant, polished speech of gratitude. I rose, straightened the cuff of my navy jacket, and opened my mouth. But Jasmine beat me to it. She stood suddenly, cheeks flushed with excitement. Or maybe something else. "Everyone," she began, holding her champagne flute aloft, her voice smooth and sugary. "I just want to say a few things before Silas makes his toast." There was a ripple of laughter. Only Jasmine could interrupt a Monroe toast and get away with it. A few clapped, confused. She inhaled deeply, placed her palm gently on her stomach, and declared, "I'm pregnant." Darlene gasped and dabbed her eyes with a monogrammed napkin. Forks clinked to the floor. A wine glass shattered. And then Jasmine said, smiling like she'd won something, "The father is Tobias." A sound cracked somewhere in the center of the table. The entire room froze. Tobias didn't move, didn't blink. He stared at his plate like it had just turned into a stranger. Martin's bourbon stalled in midair. Darlene stopped dabbing. A rope of silence stretched across the room, tight, suffocating, saving no one. They were waiting for me to fall, to break, to scream. But I didn't. I smiled. I raised my glass and said evenly, "That's fascinating. Especially since last month a fertility clinic confirmed Jasmine is medically incapable of becoming pregnant." A beat, then another. Someone, probably Louise, the family gossip in a rhinestone shawl, gasped again. Jasmine blinked, her hands still resting on her stomach. Her voice faltered. "What are you talking about?" I reached slowly into my jacket pocket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. I looked at Martin, then Tobias, then Jasmine. "Would you like to see the paperwork?" Whispers burst across the table like gas lines snapping under pressure. Jasmine opened her mouth. No sound came. Tobias stood abruptly, knocking his chair into the waiter behind him. "You put me to the test," I said calmly. And I finally answered. "You don't need to do this," Tobias snapped. "I don't," I agreed. "You already did." I laid the paper down on the white linen. Tobias clenched his jaw. "Maybe we should discuss this in private," he said. I didn't raise my voice. I just sliced through his suggestion. "We'll keep it public." She made it public. Martin finally found his voice. "Enough!" he barked, smashing his glass. "This isn't the time, or the place." "Oh, I think it's exactly the time, and exactly the place." Darlene opened her mouth to defend Jasmine, but Martin raised a hand. "She wanted an audience," he reminded her. Jasmine's eyes darted wildly, her breath coming faster. She hadn't anticipated this. She expected chaos. Instead, she got calculation. I didn't explain. I didn't rant. I just sipped from my glass, placed it down, buttoned my jacket. I think that ends the toast, and I turned and walked out. I heard someone yell my name. The pianist stopped mid-note. But I didn't turn back. They expected collapse. What they got was clarity, because 6 weeks earlier, I hadn't known what I was looking for. It began with a late night. Jasmine had gone to bed early with a migraine, leaving her phone on the nightstand, screen down. Jasmine never left her phone anywhere. I hesitated. I'm not the kind of man who snoops. I believe in privacy. But instinct screamed at me. And instinct was right. I picked it up, expecting to see texts from her book club, maybe a meme from Talia or her trainer. Nothing. The phone was blank. No messages, no calls, not even missed notifications. That alone was suspicious. Then I saw it. A generic-looking app, one I didn't recognize, StrideSync. It looked like a fitness tracker, nestled between her calendar and step counter. I tapped it open. What I found wasn't calories or miles walked. It was messages, hidden behind the disguise of a workout app. Dozens of threads. But one stood out, Tobias. Her final message read, "Don't worry, Silas will never know." I sat down. I read every message. Each word was a blade. They spoke about me in the past tense. They had already written me out of their future, but I didn't wake her. I didn't throw the phone. I turned off the screen, placed it exactly where I found it, and sat in the dark until morning. I needed the full picture. Not just anger. I wanted truth. I called Talia, Jasmine's best friend since college. Something had shifted in her lately. More distance, fewer invitations, thinner smiles. When we met for lunch, I asked quietly, "Have you noticed anything strange between Jasmine and Tobias?" Talia froze. Her eyes dropped. She finally whispered, "I didn't want to get involved." Then she told me, last month at Brighton Medical, she saw Jasmine. Under a different name, Annalise Dorn. She was there alone. Nervous, not for dermatology, but for fertility tests. Fertility, the same subject Jasmine had always deflected, always delayed. I found the clinic. I walked in 2 days later, calm, cold, carrying a fake name and a real reason. They hesitated, until I explained I was her husband. The woman tilted the screen. 3 visits in 2 months. The final note: primary infertility, unlikely chance of natural conception. There was no mention of a partner. I walked out holding the copy of her file. It wasn't just infidelity. It was deception on a structural level.